There is an uptick in Ontario's COVID-19 numbers today, and more than half of the new cases involve people under the age of 39. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says it's time young people took this outbreak more seriously.
And I just have a message for the young people. Don't go to a party, simple, because it might not be you, but it's going to be your parents or your grandparents, as I always say, or your neighbors or your friends or relatives. You're hurting people by doing this.
The CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick is in Toronto with more details about Ontario's latest numbers.
They are concerned about these numbers of younger people getting sick. So the new cases reported in Ontario today, for example, 31 of those cases are among people 19 and under, and 85 of them are among people 20 to 39. A further 52 people diagnosed are between the ages of 40 and 59, Andrew. But if you put those other numbers together, that's, as you mentioned, 57% of the new cases are under 39 years old. The Premier and Christine Elliott spoke about this yesterday. They repeated the message again today. They're trying to get it through to young people that they need to remain vigilant. Even if they think they're invincible, they're saying they need to be careful in order to protect other people, to protect older people and vulnerable people. Christine Elliott had said she thinks there's a sense of what she called COVID fatigue among young people, Andrew, and the Premier, he again today was urging young people to be careful. Here's more of what he said.
Vast majority, 98% of all these young folks are following protocol procedures, and a couple percent are going a little hog wild. Guys, you got to rein it in. Simple as that.
So stop partying, Andrew. They're concerned about, too, that the cases of COVID-19 are spreading at parties, at get-togethers, not necessarily linking them to certain establishments like a certain bar, patio, or anything. It is more to these in-person gatherings that they're saying. So they're reminding people your social bubble is limited to 10 people, and you're not allowed to have multiple bubbles. It's one bubble only. 10 people maximum that you're allowed to interact with more. Beyond that, people outside your social circle, you must practice physical distancing. But they were asked, you know, what more can you do to try and get through to young people? He talked about, the Premier, that they're already pouring tons of money into advertising and public education campaigns. He today was urging parents, grandparents to talk to young people to try and get this message through and to try and get them, maybe they're hearing the advice, but they're not necessarily following it. So this is a challenge for them. They are acknowledging.
And Megan, Premier Ford was also there to make an announcement about new long-term care facilities. Tell us about that.
Yeah, he's not here at Queen's Park today. He is out on one of his sort of summer tour days, but he's not too far away. He's in Mississauga, just next door to Toronto, making an announcement about adding 640 new long-term care beds at two separate facilities that will be in Mississauga to come online sometime in 2021. But they were sort of celebrating this announcement because they say it'll be a pilot project. It's a new way of building, that they're going to be using modular technology, that they're using existing land that's already owned by hospitals, the Trillium Health Partners Network in Mississauga. And so that'll help them get around some of the challenges in terms of the speed at which long-term care homes are built, including finding land and getting financing to buy it and that kind of thing. So as we know, the long-term care file has been a big one throughout the pandemic. I was wondering if Mary Lee Fullerton, the Minister of Long-Term Care, was at that announcement. Andrew, wasn't sure if we'd be hearing today about some details about the commission that the government is supposed to launch sometime this month to look into how COVID-19 was able to spread so widely through long-term care homes. Ford was asked about that yesterday, and we're still sort of getting the stay tuned message that they will be announcing details by the end of the month, which is, I think, next week, right? So,
And speaking of stay tuned, right, we know that much of the rest of the regions that are not in phase 3 are entering phase 3 on Friday, but Mississauga, which is in Peel region, as you mentioned, next to Toronto, is one of 3 regions that is not going to enter phase 3, at least for another week and a half.
Yeah, so it's 3 regions that will be left in phase 2 come Friday. So that's here in Toronto, Peel region next to us, and then Windsor-Essex, where they are continuing to struggle with COVID-19 cases, particularly on farms in that region. Ford at his briefing was asked about that too, saying they're continuing to test workers. There's a lot of migrant workers in particular on those farms, but that's one of the reasons why Windsor-Essex will stay in phase 2. We should just go over the numbers quickly, Andrew. I mean, in Toronto today, there were 30 new cases of COVID-19 reported, and initially by the province, 57 cases in Peel. Peel region, as the Premier was saying, is a large region. It includes the cities of Mississauga and Brampton and other smaller municipalities. Mayor Bonnie Crombie was at that briefing, and she said the new numbers for Peel were actually 22 cases, not 57, that the reason it was reported as 57 was because of a change in how they're reporting cases, so there was a bit of a catch-up.
That was the CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Toronto.